Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Learning Rwandan Sign Language. We're going to be doing another vocabulary cram today. Today we're going to be looking at animals. I think in Kinyarwanda that's inyamaswa. I'm going to put the Kinyarwanda, the English names together. My pronunciation might not be great, but that will help you to learn both the sign for animals and the Kinyarwanda for animals. I think I finally managed to solve the audio issues we've been having in this series, so let me know below if it's a bit better. Now, I know it is a lot of cramming of vocabulary, but in a few episodes' time, we're going to start using that vocabulary and creating some sentences. So if you can make it as far as gorilla today, you're going to get a fun surprise because there's a sign in the dictionary that needs a bit of research, I think. Okay, so we're going to go through the animals. And also at the very end of the session, I've put a tiny little quiz in there if you want to test your memory. So let's get started. Animals. First up, a gakurama, bat. And the sign for bat is a compound sign, so that's two signs put together. First, we've got flying, like this. And then we have the sign for night. So flying at night is bat. Bat. Next up, a kanyamasyo, which is the tortoise, a kanyamasyo. Now we've got a right A hand like this, and we're going to place it with the thumb facing away from you. And then we're going to take our right hand and cup it over the top like the shell of the tortoise. And the final part of the sign is to nod your thumb up and down. Okay, so it's a bit of a complicated one. Tortoise. See that side on? Tortoise. So you're making a little tortoise out of your hands. A hand shape, cup it, tortoise. Tortoise. So the next one is amafi. Now this kind of refers to a shoal of fish. So we start with the sign for fish, which is right hand on top of left hand like this, and we're going to move the fingers. So those are the fish. And then to make it a shoal of fish, rather than just one, we've got fish and the sign for many, which is a closed left fist, tapped twice with a flat right hand. So many, many. So fish, many, another compound sign. That gives us a sign for a shoal of fish. Ifi, so a fish, just a single fish, is the same as a shoal of fish, but just the fish bit. So one fish, many fish. Ifarasi, horse. Ifarasi. Now, it's said that before 94, there used to be a lot of horses in Butare, or which is now Hue. I don't know about that, but there are horses at a place called Fazenda Senga, which is sort of a resort and activities centre in Kigali. There is another horse riding stable just outside Kigali. So we do have a few horses here, but not many. And what we're doing is two Y hand shapes like this, and they're just moving backwards and forwards like that. So it's as though you're holding the reins of the horse. Okay, so horse. Horse. Agita gangoriwa. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Agita gangoriwa, which is a spider. And I laugh because in my TED talk years ago, I introduced the concept that in Rwanda or in Africa, everything is bigger than it is in the West. So what we have in British Sign Language, the sign language that I grew up with, is that the spider is very, very small. It's just a little spider comes down like this. But here in Rwanda, with Rwandan Sign Language, the spider is like this. So the sign for spider, two pointed fingers, and it's walking like this, quite menacing. So, spider. Spider. One last time. So I feel like that's quite a fun sign. A Hyena or a Hyena. I'm not sure, a Hyena or a Hyena, but goat. So we're starting with a V hand shape, right hand, little bit down from the chin, and it's moving from the chin to the forehead. And there's actually a note with this that says that when the V goes from your chin to the forehead, you stick out your tongue. So, goat. I quite like that sign. There are very few signs that tell you specifically what to do with your tongue. Akinyagote. Akinyagote, porcupine. Now this is an interesting one to me because I didn't know that we had porcupines in Rwanda, but when I saw this I went and I googled it, and we do. They are native to the region. So porcupine, both hands T hand shapes. If you don't know what hand shapes are, go and see the end of the very first video in this series, because I explain what hand shapes are and how to make them. So T hand shapes, starting from about here, so about your waist, and as they move away from you out to either side, they're coming out to a point, to extended index fingers. So porcupine, porcupine. So I like that one. It feels very apt for the animal. Porcupine. Imbaragasa. Imbaragasa. Flea. So a flea on your cat or your dog. We're beginning with two O hand shapes here. And the O hand shapes are palms up here. And your right hand is going to move up to your shoulder and extend to an index finger. So flea. Flee, flee. It's like the flea is fleeing away. Flee. Imbwa, imbwa, dog. So if you have a dog at home, this is the sign you need to know. Two 5-hand shapes against the head here, and they go up and down like the ears. So dog, dog. Impisi, impisi, or I'm not sure if it's impishi, impisi or impishi. Hyena. So a while ago I mentioned in a post on the channel that in Rwandan folklore it is very, very bad luck to insult a hyena. So if you hear a hyena crying out at night, you know you have to be calm and polite. You must never shout back at it. You must never call it a name. Otherwise, it's very, very, very bad luck on you. So C hand shape against the bottom of the chin, moving away and back twice. So hyena, hyena, hyena. Imvubu, hippopotamus, imvubu. So for the hippopotamus, we've got our hands here at neck height facing each other, and they're going to come down into claws facing the signer. So hippopotamus, hippopotamus, hippopotamus. Okay, Ingaji, which is gorilla, Ingaji, is the same sign as the sign for Rwanda, and that is beating your chest like a gorilla. Gorilla, or Rwanda. Now I told you that if you made it this far, there would be something a little bit funny. Now, I don't know why, but in this dictionary is a sign for gorilla's buttock. Gorilla's buttock. The Kinyarwanda, let me just check. So it's Ikibuno Chinganji. Now, in Kinyarwanda, that's buttock gorilla, but in sign language, you sign it the gorilla first and then the buttock. I don't know why it's in the dictionary. I have no idea. I asked my friend Justin, who's a really lovely guy, I said, you know, look, could you explain this to me? In Kinyarwanda, is gorilla's buttock an insult? Like the word igichuchu, which basically means you're an idiot. You know, I'm like, is it like igichuchu? Is it an insult? Do you call somebody a gorilla's buttock when you're annoyed with them? And he just looked at me and he said like, nah. He said, I've never heard that. I have no idea why that would be in the dictionary. So I don't know. If you know why the phrase gorilla's buttock is in the sign language dictionary, could you let me know? I mean, if you come from a different area of Kigali or a different area of Rwanda, is that a phrase that you know? How do you know it? In what context? Because I would love to know. Okay, ingona, crocodile. Ingona. It's a fairly what you'd expect. It's the mouth of the crocodile with your two flat hands. So crocodile. Snap, snap. Crocodile. Inkima. Now, inkima is another one like porcupine I had to check, because inkima means squirrel. And I had no idea that there were squirrels in Rwanda. But I Googled it and apparently there are. So I've never seen a squirrel here, but they do exist. Closed right fist at the hip, and it's coming up and opening to a 5-hand shape like a tail. So squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. Inkoko, which is chicken, inkoko. And that is just a little bit of a hooked right index finger. And from around the mouth, it's just going forward and backwards like you're pecking. So chicken, 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 chicken. Inyamaswa, which just means animal. We covered it at the very beginning, but I didn't explain it. And it's just like a 5-hand shape, both hands facing signer, and they move away and close to fists, and you do it twice. So animal, animal, animal. Animal flow. Oh, no, sorry. Got carried away there. Inzoka. Inzoka, which is a snake. And it's just your pointed right index finger moving away from you side to side, like a snake slithering away. So, snake. Snake. And again, in Rwandan folklore, historically, snakes are mostly extremely lucky, except for the puff adder, which apparently is very unlucky. But all of the other snakes are very lucky, and it brings bad luck to hurt them, which is really interesting. I made a post about this before. I might leave the link below. I'm kind of researching a bit of folklore at the moment, and animal folklore is very interesting. Inzovu. Inzovu is my mother's favourite animal, and that is the elephant. So it's a C-hand shape, and from the nose we're just making a little arc like that. So it's the trunk of the elephant. Inzovu. Elephant. Ipusi. So there are two words for this. There's ipusi, which you might recognise. Ipusi, pussycat. But also you can say injangwe. So often when people say cat, they say injangwe. But ipusi is sort of the diminutive of injangwe. An easy one, 2 Q hand shapes at the side of your face. And as they move away, they turn into whiskers, so they close. And you do it twice. So ipusi, ipusi, injangwe, iseneni. Iseneni, which is a grasshopper. And at certain times of the year, we have huge grasshoppers. They just kind of descend on Kigali, Rwanda, and people go out and they collect them and they eat them. So it's not a very long life if you're grasshopper. But we've got the flat left hand like this and a closed fist on top. And your right fist is moving forward and opening to this hand shape. Now, I don't really know what to call this. I suppose you could call it a 3-hand shape. It's a little bit of an anomaly. It's an exception. So grasshopper, grasshopper, grasshopper. Everybody's least favourite entry, amubu. Amubu. Nobody likes amubu. Amubu is the mosquito. That is the little critter that brings malaria. So we've got our left hand as a fist, our left arm, and our right hand, the fist, thumb and index extended and touching. So like that, to form a little point. And first we bite our arm and then we slap it. Amubu. 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 Mosquito, squish. Okay, so that sign is mosquito. It's not their fault. They didn't ask to carry malaria, but nobody really likes them. Urukwavu. I really like that name, Urukwavu. It sounds really lovely on the tongue, Urukwavu. Very quiet and unassuming, like the animal. So it stands for rabbit. Two V hands like this, facing towards the signer, up at the head, and we're just dipping them back twice. So like a little rabbit. 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 So the dog had big floppy ears, and the rabbit has little twitching ones. Rabbit. That's a nice sign and a nice word. And another small creature, urushishi. Urushishi, the smallest of the creatures, the ant. So we've got a right index finger, and it's just crooking like that. Urushishi. Ant. It's going forward, and it's just crooking twice. Ant. 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 Cute. Ant. Now, there are a couple of noticeably missing animals in here. The first one that I find strange, I don't think there's a sign for cow. I couldn't find it. But there is a sign for horns, and I strongly suspect that the sign for horns and the sign for cow are the same thing. So amahembe, or the sign for horns, is two C hand shapes moving up from the head. So horns. And those look like the horns of the cow. It's like when you see the traditional dancers doing this, it represents the horns of the cow. So horns. And I would stake a very heavy bet on the fact that that is also the sign for cow. Cow and the horns. And the other one that I feel is missing is, of course, we're in Africa. We've got the elephant, and we've got the hippo, and we've got all of the big game animals, but we haven't got a lion. And I think the reason for that is because when this dictionary was published in 2009, there were no lions in Rwanda. They were reintroduced to Rwanda. I'm going to have to go and check the date. I always get it wrong, but this date here, they were reintroduced to Rwanda, to Akagera Park. They're doing really well now, so there's a whole pride of lions in Akagera. But when the dictionary was published, there weren't any lions. So I think that might be why there's no sign. But if you know what the sign for lions is, then let me know below. Leave a description below. All right, so I promised you a little test. We're just going to do a very, very little test. And I'm going to give you some clues, and I want you to see if you can remember the sign for the animal. So here we go. I'll do that again.